Okay, class. Hopefully, I'm talking to period 2 and 6 on January 31st, 2025. Hopefully, you should have done your court case. And I know that's going to be tricky, but you need to email the sub, and then they can open the links, and you can put it on the projector. That should be fine. So now it's been 20 minutes into class. What I would like you to do next is complete. I can't remember which periods. I think period 2 finished, and I think period 6 finished too. I'm going to assume you're done with assignment 16. If you're not, pause this video. It's the one with the presidential decisions, and spend 5 or 10 minutes finishing that. But I think you're both done. Maybe period 2 is not done, but I wrote on the board that period 6 is done. So anyway, we're moving on. Pause the video if you are period 2 and you were not done. Spend 5 or 10 minutes on that. And we're going to move on to the papers you grabbed by the door. They look really similar to each other. One says formal powers, one says informal powers, and we're going to start with the one that says formal powers, okay? Now I'm talking to you guys too in period 3. All right, here we go. So I kind of have like little requirements here. I didn't do this the other day because it was just like the notes, and it feels weird to do something that's just like the notes right after we do the notes. So now with a little bit of time, I don't know if you guys know this, but if you deal with content and you spread it out, like you do something with it Monday, you do something with it Wednesday and Thursday, you start to memorize it, okay? And I'm going to give you a little challenge right now. I want you to not have your notes out for at least a little while. So if you could like just kind of hide your notes that you took the other day, the roles of the president, and let's see what you know without any help. You probably don't need to use a pencil, but you can if you think you might make mistakes. We're going to modify this first box. It says requirements for office. Oop. We're going to put 1, 2, 3. I want 3 requirements to be president. I'm going to give you a moment right now. 3 requirements to be president. And you can talk with the neighbor. I don't care. It's that I don't really want you staring at your notes, but you can have a discussion with your shoulder partner if you want to verify that what you have is right. Yeah, that's me. Okay. Guys, how old do you have to be president? 35. How many years do you need to have lived straight in America? 14. That means you can't have lived in France 5 years ago. And then lastly, where do you have to be born? Can you be a citizen like who converted? No. You cannot. You have to be born in America. Let's go to the right-hand side. Well, you could all put yourself, but we're not going to do that. I want you to write down, this says notable politicians. I'm going to change it to famous people. It could be politicians who can't be president. Who are some famous people who can't be president? Give me 3.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Everything I heard was right. I'm annoyed that this is bolded and underlined. There we go. Everything I heard was correct. This class said Arnold Schwarzenegger. You don't have to steal my answers, though. What about Elon Musk? Elon Musk cannot be president. I heard Vladimir Putin. He has not lived here for 14 years straight. That is true. He hasn't lived here for 14 minutes straight. But also, you think about young people. Think about famous Canadians. Who's the most famous Canadian? Drake. Is Drake the most famous Canadian?
Yeah.
Maybe? Yes.
How do you spell, like...
Schwarzenegger?
Yeah.
Arnold S. period. That's fine. Arnold S. Okay, and then, you know what's funny? When Arnold was the governor of California, the newspapers really struggled with writing, like if you want to write a headline that says Schwarzenegger or Governor Schwarzenegger signs a bill, you couldn't fit it in the headline, and so they had to be like, they'd just say California governor or Gov signs a bill or whatever, because I couldn't fit his name in there. Okay, so what we have on the rest of the paper is pretty straightforward, and it's weird for me to come up with requirements on this side, but I want you to tell me about the president's power as commander-in-chief. So I'll do an example one with you and then kind of release you on your own. So what do you think we should write for power of commander-in-chief? To define it.
Mobilize U.S. Armed Forces.
Yeah, they're in charge of U.S. Armed Forces. You think there's anything else to add?
Are they in charge of police force?
In a way, like the FBI and stuff, but I don't feel like that's the same.
Okay.
That belongs here.
All divisions.
Yes. Should I say that?
All divisions in the military, so
I'll say that.
Navy,
But I actually think that this one is the shortest amount to write on the left-hand side. The other ones have more examples, or at least more bullets, I guess you'd say, not examples.
Is the National Guard included in that?
Pretty sure.
Yeah, the National Guard is included, yeah. Okay, so we're going to go to examples, and I want you to do this to all your examples, guys. I want you to put 1, 2. I want you to write 2 examples for every single thing. You can number it now. 2 examples for each one. And I don't know if I want to help you right now with that, so I'm going to leave that alone. But I just want you to know there's going to be more on the other ones. This was 1 note, but down here, this will probably be 2 notes. This one, look at this. They combined head of state and see, I call this something else. I should just fix this sheet instead of telling kids it's wrong. Maybe I'll do that now. What did I call it? Chief what? Diplomat. Sometimes I think chief ambassador. And so that means there's kind of a lot that you can write here. 1. We'll do that. We'll do 4 there. And chief legislator, we'll do 3. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Kind of without your notes for 5 or 10 minutes, try to answer with the people around you the different stuff. I would rather that you do, first of all, your examples, I want them to be real life. They actually happened in American history and they were kind of famous. So when you Google something Trump meets the Queen of England, which he did, make sure it's something that occurred and something that in your brain you're kind of yeah, I can picture that, or I heard about that. That was kind of a famous thing. And so, how about this? For 10 minutes, and I'm going to pause this recording. For 10 minutes, work on this sheet with the people around you and write 2 examples for each, and then meet my little number requirements. But remember, each of these examples have 2, and these ones have this specific amount. All right, I'm going to pause the recording. In 10 minutes, you can unpause it.
It was formal.
Okay, hi, I'm back. It was really more 6 or 7 minutes, but at this point, you can use your Chromebook, you can use your notes to help you fill in any gaps that you have. Okay.
Oh, I didn't get. I'm literally
And if you need to see this, here it
Did you get
is.
as an example of
All right. This is what the numbers look like. Okay.
And Trump appointing Robert F. Kennedy.
I'm going to pause the video for another 4 minutes and see where they're at. I'm unpausing the video to give you a warning. Make sure you don't do anything on this paper with executive orders or executive agreements, because they show up on the other paper, and those are not found in the Constitution. And this paper is about formal powers that are found in the Constitution. Okay? So be careful with that. Okay, I can't remember how long we've been paused, but most people are done, so we're going to move on to the next sheet. And the next sheet is informal or implied powers. Let's scroll down. So these ones, are they in the Constitution, yes or no?
No.
Where the other sheet they were, that's why I asked you not to put executive orders over here, because it's not really in the Constitution. So, we begin with executive orders. Anybody want to help me write the definition? What's how can I say it? It's like a
law. Like a law.
Okay, so I'm going to say a presidential declaration that is, or we'll say that has the force of law. Aye. Yeah, let me fix that. Okay, so what I want you to do is tell me, and this is from a president's point of view, tell me one thing that's good about executive order. Like if I was president, if Robinson was president, I absolutely would use them a lot. And so why would I do that? What's good about it? And then 3 things that are maybe from a president's point of view bad about it. Maybe you want to tell me what's good about it, Claire?
I had a question.
You had a question. Sorry to put you on the spot. I can take it from somebody else, and then I can answer your question. What's good about it?
It doesn't require Congress approval.
Because it doesn't require congressional approval, I can do it and not have any kind of checks and balances, at least in my way to do one. What was your question, Claire?
I know the Supreme Court can strike down an executive order. Can Congress strike down?
I think Congress, so the question is, the Supreme Court can strike it down. Can Congress strike it down? Yeah, kinda. They'd have to vote, and then what would the president do? Veto it, so they'd have to have a 2/3, and they'd have to be really motivated to overturn it. And that people in the president's own party would have to be really motivated to overturn it. Yeah.
For the executive orders, I saw that Trump saying that the federal aid for emergency stuff, but I saw that it got struck down by a judge. So what does that mean for like?
I saw that too.
So while it's being like struck down and like moved up in courts, like what happens to the actual?
Usually they put a pause on it, sort of. That almost like the judge admits, like this is pretty big, and it's probably going to go to Supreme Court. I'm just going to pause it for now, and then it'll get there, and we'll let them make the final decision. The aid one, the Trump cut off aid. Even he overturned. He reversed himself on that. So there's a lot of chaos going on now. A plane and a helicopter collided yesterday. Did you hear this? This is the first plane crash we've had in America in a long time, 15 years or something. And I just got an alert on my phone that said the staffing was all messed up at the aviation place, like for them to tell, hey, look out, you're gonna hit, because all the worker, you know what, you get what I'm going, like a lot of these executive orders about the workforce have impacted them, so we'll have to keep an eye on that kind of thing. Tell me, maybe you've already written them, tell me something bad about executive orders from a president's point of view. Yes?
It's temporary.
What's that, temporary? Okay, look at your paper, make sure you got what I got. They are temporary. They can be just undone by the next president. What else is not so great about them? Okay, well, that is true. It wasn't one of my facts, but it's a good one to have, is that they can be struck down by the Supreme Court. Sure, absolutely. What did you say, Haley?
Oh, that they have regulations, like you can't do.
Okay, whatever you come up with has to be about the federal government. You can't just make an executive order about people's personal lives. And then what else?
And then you can't spend new money,
Can't spend any new money.
so you can reallocate it.
That's right. I'm not typing these, but I think if you're watching the video, you're probably hearing what we're saying. Eventually, same thing here, guys. Go to examples and write 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I want 2 examples for each one. And I want famous examples, don't Google and write something down you don't even understand. And I told you on our notes, plus all the Trump ones we've talked about, those are all executive orders. Okay. I'm going to move on, but you're going to go back and fill in some gaps. Let's talk about executive agreements. What is an executive agreement a lot like? Or what is it like a sort of a hybrid of these two things? What is it? It's like a treaty, and it's like a executive order. So it's a treaty that doesn't need to be voted on. Perhaps I should type it out. That's not the best definition. Similar to a treaty and a executive order, doesn't require Congress approval, and temporary. Yep.
Do you think because the an executive order is a presidential declaration that has a force of law, this could be like a presidential negotiation
Yeah.
is similar to a treaty.
Exactly, yeah. A presidential negotiation. And I know that we have at least one famous example of this that you might have written on your notes. It's that one, I'm not going to have you yell it out, but it's that one that Obama got in and Trump got out, Biden got in, Trump got out. That's one example. Could Trump get out of it if it was a treaty? No. But treaties are super hard. And the last one is brand new information, unless you did your homework and you might have learned about it, but the vocab is executive privilege. Can anybody tell me who maybe worked ahead what executive privilege is? Otherwise I can tell. Yeah.
It's like the right for a president to keep conversations between him and his staff private.
Oops. It's the right for the executive branch to keep some conversations with their White House staff or their cabinet members private. It doesn't always have to do with classified information, but it might. I got to give you some examples so that you better understand this. In what circumstance would somebody from the executive branch have to answer tough questions where they're like under oath? What have we learned about where that might happen? Woo, I love that. Great answer. Legislative oversight. This is when Congress, in their committees, they call down people like Dr. Fauci, and Dr. Fauci has to answer tough questions. Dr. Fauci never used this, but I'll give you an example of two times, really. I'm going to give you two examples, and you can steal both of them from the right-hand side. Oh, we have to add something. You can't, I guess I can't, I shouldn't say you. Prez can't use this to cover up crimes. So let's start with the one where the guy tried to cover up a crime and they decided you can't do that. That is Richard Nixon in the Watergate scandal. Many people in his cabinet were called down to testify before Congress because Congress investigates and they uncover, like they try to uncover the truth. And the Watergate people said, I cannot I don't know if you know Watergate. It was like Nixon's henchmen broke into Nixon was Republican. They broke into the Democrats' headquarters and they like spied on them for the presidential election. And then they spent several years covering it up. And Congress was investigating these rumors, and the people would get called down in front of a congressional committee, and they would refuse to answer for executive privilege. And they say, I'm sorry, I can't answer that question, that's executive privilege. It's kind of like taking the fifth, sort of, but it's not meant to like protect you so much, it's meant to protect the president. And that went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, executive privilege does exist, but you can't use it to cover up a crime, and we think the Watergate thing, you're trying to cover up a crime, and so you have to answer these questions. So for examples on the right, I'd put Watergate, and then I don't know, something to indicate like a parenthesis didn't work. It didn't work because he was trying to cover up a crime. But let me use one that's like a more standard time where executive privilege comes up, because that didn't work. Let's see when it does work. When Barack Obama was president, he had a small scandal. The federal government was doing like a sting operation, but it was a many months long, it wasn't like one day. It was a many months long sting operation where they sold guns, like they didn't say we're the government, but they'd use like undercover agents, and they sold guns to Mexican drug cartels, but I think inside of America. And then the point was to track those guns and then like catch the drug dealers sort of thing. But the problem was later those guns would pop up and they were used in crimes and murders and stuff, and we would like investigate the crime scene and say they track the gun and say this is a government gun, what the heck is going on? And so they called down the government to testify, and they were like, we can't really talk about this operation, it's executive privilege, the president doesn't want me to share these private conversations. The operation was called, you can put it on the right hand side, Operation Fast and Furious, which is kind of funny. So that's like a more standard example, maybe sort of kind of top secret type of stuff. Imagine if Congress called the Secretary of Defense down a week before the Osama bin Laden assassination, and they're like, why haven't you captured or killed bin Laden yet? And in their head they're like, we're going to do it like next week. You know what I mean? There does deserve to be a somewhat of an element of secrecy, because if you tell 500 Congress people, that they're going to go blab to somebody else. So, but I also want to say it's not always used for classified information. Okay, I've explained the sheet pretty good. There's also some questions at the bottom. I'd like you to fill it all out. Remember, having 2 examples in order to get your stamp. I'm going to pause the video, and I'm going to give the class 10 to 15 minutes to completely finish this assignment. If they finish in 10, then you're done. Okay, so after 10 or 15 minutes have passed, I'm going to give you guys something different. This is just for the people in the recording. And this is not what first and third period did yesterday, so if you were excited to do what they're doing, we're going to do that on Tuesday instead. I'm giving you something that would be better for when a sub is here, and it's this paper about federal agencies. Let me teach real quick, like the triangle of our government. The top is the president and vice president. The second layer is the cabinet, like Secretary of Defense and Secretary of the Treasury. And the bottom is federal agencies like NASA and the FBI and the Federal Reserve and the Federal Communications Commission. What I want you to do is fill out what each of those things do, like Google, what does the CIA do, and write it under major functions and responsibilities. You do not need to do agency classification yet. The second column, the middle column, you do not need to do that yet, because I worry you might mess up. And I haven't done the lecture on this, so only fill out the major functions and responsibilities of each one. And you can just Google it and read the first paragraph of Wikipedia and translate that onto the little spot there. And that's all that you guys are doing today. Don't forget you have a couple homework assignments on Canvas over the weekend. Thanks. Bye.